Good morning, you two. So today is April the 23rd, and that means that it is St. George's Day. So today we're going to learn a little bit about what is St. George's Day, why is it important, and learn about the story of St. George. So St. George's Day is England's national day. So most countries have their own national day, and St. George's Day is the day where we celebrate England, where we live. And it's been that way since the year 1222, so a very long time ago. And on St. George's Day, if you want to follow tradition, people often wear a red rose flower in their buttonhole because that is the national flower and it's our national day. So you may recognise this as the English flag. It actually, before it was the English flag, was St. George's emblem. So all saints had an emblem that they carried on their flag and on their armour, and this was St. George's. And now we use it as an English flag. And that was decided by King Richard the Lionheart in the 12th century, so way back in 1222. And all soldiers wore it on their tunics, on their armour, so that in battle you'd know who was English and who was on your team and who wasn't. So if they didn't have that emblem on, you knew they were an enemy in battle. St. George is also the patron saint of scouting. So some of you I know are in beavers and brownies, and when you get older you might join scouts and guides. So he is their patron saint, which means that they often use his emblem, and they, on April the 23rd, would usually go to their nearest church and do a parade to celebrate him and everything he did. So why do people celebrate him? So there is a story about St. George that one day he was out on his horse and he heard of a town that was being terrorized by a dragon. So remember, this is way back in 1222. So he decided to go by himself to this town on his horse to attempt to slay the dragon. And the reason he did this is because he heard that in order to stop the dragon, the villagers have decided to feed a young princess to it. So rather than trying to fight it, they were going to feed a young princess to this dragon. And George thought, no, that's not right. I'm not having that. And he rode off to the village. When he got to the village, he managed to slay, that means he managed to defeat the dragon all by himself, and he rescued the princess. And he stopped that whole village from being terrorized. And people often say if he hadn't have done that, the dragon might have gone on to terrorize other villages and other princesses. So that's why people really do celebrate him, and they believe that he saved England. So today we're going to do a little activity. We are going to pretend that it's the year 1222 and that we are St. George, and we're going to write a little entry in our diary pretending it's the day after we have just slayed the dragon. So George, before, he was just a knight and he used to just ride around and he would work for the king and go into battle. But after he slayed this dragon, he became famous. So he went from nobody really knowing who he was to being really famous, and everybody using his little cross emblem that was just his. Everybody started using it, and then it became our flag. So imagine he must have been, well, he must have been very excited, probably a little bit scared, probably pretty happy with himself. But probably was also quite overwhelming to go from no one knowing you to everyone knowing you. So I'll put a picture below of what I would like your page to look like. We're going to pretend it's the year 1222, and we're going to start with Dear Diary, and we're going to pretend we are St. George. So you'll be talking in the first person. So I did this, I went here, my flag, my emblem. And I'll also write a list of key words for you to include in case you get a little bit stuck. I'd like to make